Welcome back, venturers. It's time for another discussion about the VN. I am MR, and together with Tauros, we bring another Readport. I have to confess, for I have sinned. The worst kind a VN reader can manifest. I hadn't read it that much past month. How about you, Tauros?
No, that's not a sin. Listen, to anyone listening in, it is totally fine to just take breaks or ease up on reading visual novels. It's a hobby after all. You're supposed to enjoy yourself. And sometimes you really get into VNs and you just blitz them out like reading big ol' epics in a week. And other times you just don't really touch one for months. That's okay. And that's okay for you too, MR. So let's all give him a comforting round of applause. But as for me, fortunately for our Readport, I have been reading a title called LUNARiA. It is a work from Key, and it's somewhat on the shorter side. It is a sci-fi story that takes place in the future. It involves our main character, a high school boy, who is a normal high school boy in real life, but in, this VR World Wide Web, he is a professional racer. And in fact, he's doing very well for himself, placing well in tournaments and circuits and whatnot, until by chance he happens to meet this strange AI girl named Lunar Q. And together, their paths intertwine, and they have a very interesting lives ahead of both of them as they both grow closer to each other. I mentioned that this was sci-fi. The setting is sci-fi, but at its heart, this seems to be more of a romance story. Romance / slice of life, in the same vein that, Key is usually known for. And even though I'm personally not a big romance fan, I think I've mentioned that before, I'm still enjoying this so far. I really like the atmosphere and the characters so far. I think I'm about halfway through it. But so far, it's been pretty interesting, and I've been enjoying it. Let's see. Oh, one thing that jumps out at me.
I think about it.
Yeah.
Because I have a question. I don't think we have, or at least maybe I hadn't read that many titles that deal with isekai situation that is similar to sort of art online. And the more you describe to me some sort of connectivity to the internet in which they surf and do wacky adventure, the more I think about it. That's not as often explored territory.
I think so. I think there are some titles that do and some titles that don't. Obviously, you're kind of only going to see this type of whole, internet VR stuff explored in a sci-fi title. Yes. The idea that you grow in the future, the internet will be something as simple as strapping on the headset and then you just get a fully immersive experience. We're still many years off of that from in real life and whatnot, but there's all sorts of possibilities.
Please do more VNs like that before that fantasy becomes mundane reality. Come on.
Exactly. Chop. And then we have to deal with the whole dystopian aspects. It's no. This is a story. We get to just see all the best parts of it. But yes, one thing that jumps out at me are the production qualities. I tend to read indie titles or some of the more under the radar sorts of releases. So here I am reading a title released by Key fairly recently, and it's oh boy, this is AAA. We've got the gorgeous images, and super high detail with some of these backgrounds, and some of the CGs are very detailed, very beautiful to look at. We have some great background tracks, including one that has background vocals. It's like it's one of the songs that gets used.
That's super cool.
Yeah, or like one of the tracks that gets used when our main character is racing and he's, competing against all the others. And then, oh my god, with the background vocals kick in, like, that rarely ever happens. Like, visual novels only have vocals for like their opening song or like the ending for the credits or whatever. I always love that. I'm always a sucker when you get vocals used as an instrument for just some regular old background tracks. Oh, I love that. That's one of the little things that just make me fall in love with the title.
I haven't noticed that, but I recall that whenever you have a VN, or I guess game, to extrapolate a bit further, in which you have some sort of conflict, right? You have then a central antagonist, and then there is a big confrontation. Whenever that kind of antagonist also sings their own song with vocals, that's just peak.
I imagine that's the kind of thing you'd see in like a magical girl sort of thing, right? All about the hope,
for example,
and the
but
coming
not necessarily.
Together.
Off the top of my head, BlazBlue had a lot of those moments in which you had a big bad boss music with vocals for that given character. Like that, I'm like, what the hell? That was so cool.
Oh man, they're gonna make you like the main villain at that rate.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, yeah, over in LUNARiA, it has incredible animations as well. One thing that's really unique, one thing that really stuck out to me, you know how in a typical visual novel, like every time you click, click the mouse button or you hit enter for you or whatever, the text box will come in with a new the new sentences, and then it plays all the way out, and then you click, and then it brings up the new set of sentences. That's normal. And then it's only when you click, it's only at the beginning of the, I guess you could say, the scene, where characters will change their poses or change their facial expressions. In LUNARiA, it's really common for, Lunar Q, this main heroine.
Mid-sentence?
For the main heroine to change her poses and her facial expressions just throughout. Like, there'll be multiple sentences that are displayed on the screen at once, and just throughout it, in time with the voice lines, she'll change her expressions, and she'll be active throughout the whole time.
Yeah, I feel like the first time I've noticed that was in Necopara, when you have a dialogue with multiple characters. In that dialogue, someone talks, they making a sentence, and in the middle of that sentence, they mention something that the other character feels embarrassed about, and you see in real time, synced with voice acting, how that other character reacts and shifts the body posture.
That's exactly right. And, sometimes you see that in other visual novels, but, it's on occasion or whatnot. LUNARiA, in this visual novel, it does it constantly. It is like, every sentence or every scene, Lunar Q is continually reacting to the voice lines as they're playing out. And so it really contributes to her being a very energetic, moe heroine, as she's being cute, being all cutesy with the main character and the other cast and whatnot. That's one of the little production values that tie in a lot to the character. Because obviously we're getting that just from her actions and her words. It's already set up for her to be, a very cute main heroine type of character. But it's also just how often that she changes her poses, or she goes from smiling to grinning, or the various times she just keeps bouncing. Bouncing in joy in the background. She's also... it all ties together, and it really adds a lot.
Exactly what you're saying are noticeable, meaning when you read a VN in which they describe, oh, this character is furious, and they have the most neutral sprite ever, that's when you notice. And the opposite is when during the sentence itself, there are many states of being for that one character. This is when the VN is the most noticeable, when it evokes emotions of whoever speaks.
Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, there's a few other characters in this visual novel, and it doesn't happen to them often much at all. They follow the typical visual novel rules of, they only change their expressions or the poses at the beginning, and they're static throughout as the voice lines are playing. And so it's kind of just the one who's just going above and beyond is just Lunar Q.
Yeah, but you know what? Now that you are talking from the standpoint of animation and trying to bring life into sprites, right? One type of that kind of attention to detail I haven't had noticed anywhere else outside of Maitetsu, whereas you have a text, you have a background CG, you have multiple characters speaking, and you have a text saying that protagonist bowed, right? Because it's a greeting, he is very courteous, he is bowing. But the perspective lowers for a moment. So you feel as if your head sunk down. So animating the movement of protagonist is also impressive from the first person perspective as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, LUNARiA doesn't do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, but now that you mentioned it, I don't need it to get invested in the story, but those kind of over the top animations really sell the liveliness of those characters and the setting itself.
And speaking of the characters, I like who the main character is as well. It sounds like the potential to be a very, bland or stereotypical main character, but he very much prides himself on being a lone wolf. He doesn't have any real partners, in his racing career. He deliberately avoids any corporate sponsorships to, upgrade his rig or give him more money or give him, the financial advantages, because he wants his pure skill to shine through. And in fact, that's one of the more, outstanding parts of the main character, is that he has a lot of resentment against, the corporations who think they can just buy their way to victory. And so that's, a very interesting fold to it. And it's an interesting aspect to his, newfound relationship with Lunar Q as well. Balancing how much of her help is acceptable, and, how much does he value his principles versus what Lunar Q wants, and, how the story develops and all of that. So that, adds a nice little wrinkle to an otherwise pretty straightforward story. Speaking of the story, one thing is that there surprisingly isn't that much. It's it's a weird situation where the pacing is actually pretty impressive, where things happen at a pretty nice clip, and there isn't really much, downtime, or just, what do they call it, like dead air, where you're kind of just reading fluff for the sake of fluff. It's paced pretty well, but on the other hand, so far in what I've been reading, there hasn't really been a direct, I guess, end point as to where we're all going with this. It's just him enjoying his racing career and just finding more success. And I mean, that's kind of cool enough in the short term, but I think I've said this before, where I very much prefer to have some sort of target, some sort of main conflict that we can reach a resolution for whenever I'm reading a visual novel in any sort of story. And so when you get like the slice of life titles or the romance or whatnot, there doesn't really seem to be an end goal. That's like one huge thing that puts me off of it. But so far in LUNARiA, even though that's not entirely clear, I'm still enjoying it so far. So I mean, that's some pretty high praise for what I'm reading in this.
So you're saying for now, you don't feel like there is a goal over the horizon you can see this aiming for? and it just floats forward. Okay.
Yeah, floating forward is a good way to put it. Now, there's a lot of people who don't mind that sort of thing, or heck, they even enjoy that, not having any stress involved. You can just, take each day or each scene as it is and just have fun in the day-to-day activities. And that's pretty cool. LUNARiA is doing pretty well about that, partially because I really like the writing.
Oh.
Yeah, I just went from, reading, what was it, type noise shonen shoujo, and they've since cleaned up their translation, but even then I still felt their writing was very stilted, very I guess flavorless, and it kind of took away from all of the emotion from a lot of their scenes. And then you have a title like LUNARiA, and it's written much better. It's like there's a lot more natural flow to it, and when the characters talk, their personalities really get to shine forth a lot more. I mean, when you have something that's really, that's really hanging on by, Lunar Q, the main heroine, being very moe and cute, the writing is very important for the words to carry that across, just as much as the visuals and the animations do. So the translation, I really like the writing. Although I will say one thing, the translation seemed to go in a pretty, I'm not quite sure I wouldn't quite say professional tone. It could have been a lot weebier. It could have been much more weeb.
Okay, so they approach it safer.
A little, yeah, okay. Because there's no honorifics, it's that sort of thing. And I'm pretty sure one of the characters is saying nya to end like all of her sentences. And unfortunately, we don't get that in the translation. I just hear her talk, and I just really hear nya constantly.
So what's the point? What's the point? They ruined. Oh my god.
Well, there's more to her than just saying nya every sentence. And, obviously...
If there would be more to her than just saying nya, then why do you take away the nya, huh? Answer this.
Because that was the choice the translators decided to go with. I don't mind. I respect it. I get it. Because there's only so many alternatives.
Now I need to fight for options for honorifics inside settings, but I also want a nya setting as well.
Oh my gosh.
I need a nya toggle.
A nya toggle. I'm pretty sure someone would get sick of hearing all her nyas, because that's kind of her character a little. But that's funny. I don't mind. You can hear it anyways. You get the picture.
Going back to what you said about the loner, this is quite common in Japanese stories from VNs, how a protagonist starts as an independent loner. I do it myself. I don't need no friends. And throughout the story, he discovers, friendship is magic, kind of. But this is so common. I wonder where this story will take it. And on the next Readport, what you'll say about that. Because if I understand correctly, you hadn't reached any ending. You're just in middle of first blind reading, right?
Yes.
Because I don't know if it has multiple endings.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure LUNARiA is linear. I think. I haven't investigated any more than that, partially because I don't want to spoil myself too, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a classic story after all. It's, someone learns the meaning of friendship, and the horizons to his world has now expanded. That's a classic. And it's a classic for a good reason, yeah.
I wonder if that's also something that waits you over that horizon, in which there will be a moment, a conflict or a problem that protagonist no longer can solve himself. And that would be the moment. But you got friends, and that's a good message to send. You can rely on others. Like that's a classic conflict introduced in an otherwise self-reliant loner protagonist with black clothes and emo hair, right? Like that's classic.
The serious as, oh, my skills will carry me to victory. In a very
exactly. Yep.
in a very singularly minded, sport of racing.
Yep.
One last note. I will say one of the side characters is the main character's best friend. His childhood friend who he talks to often in class and whatnot. He's a guy. However, in the VR internet, he's got an avatar of a shrine maiden fox girl. I think he speaks to a lot of us.
This is one more reason why we need more of those kind of VN settings, because that's obviously what's going to happen, right? There will be a difference and disambiguity between how people are in real life and how they behave on the web or cyberspace or something like that.
Exactly. We've got the two male characters and how they would act in this cyberspace. The main character, whose avatar looks very similar to himself, just a little bit cooler. And then we've got the other guy who made himself a cute anime girl.
This is exactly what we need more. Yeah, exactly. The type of protagonist that says, "This is me, but cooler me," and the other says, "Yeah, this is me, but shrine fox girl."
Exactly.
Like, yes. Holy hell. Yup. Oh my god.
And that's okay. I won't ask you which one you would be, MR. I won't say for myself either.
Listen, if there ever becomes cyberspace and we'll do a podcast in the cyberspace, if you aren't Luna there, I'm making complaint, okay? I'm filing a formal complaint.
Oh no. I'm associated too much with my profile pic. I've had this Luna profile pic for years. Unironically, a whole bunch of people do see me as Luna. Oh man, what have I done?
Yeah, apparently you have been in quite a lot of VNs as well.
Only one. But how's it been for you, MR?
Quite a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know you said that you haven't really been reading everything, but you've been up to stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, I couldn't get out of my head because ever since I finished, or at least I read to completion Galzoo Island, it lives rent-free in my head all the time. So I said to myself, okay, listen, I need to complete it. Not just finish, complete it. Oh boy, that took a while. There is a lot of weird permutations in this game. But I finally did it. I don't know if I would have the patience to approach this title multiple times to finish all the possible variations, if not for amazing early game this time. Both story-wise and from gameplay standpoint. Because every single time I booted a new run or a new route for this title, the first zone has 3 of my favorite characters and possibly archetypes as well. Because, just a reminder, Galzoo Island is a story about being a monster tamer and collecting wild monster girls when the central antagonist kidnapped everybody on this island and hence plans to marry one of them, and your job is to snatch those monsters and confront the big scary Baron Squid. That's the gist of it. And it just so happens on your first Pokemon adventure, in your first Pokemon zone, you'll find the wild rabbit girl, a wild maid, because obviously, and a wild tsundere. Like that's just fucking perfect. I just love it. It is so
good for
hilariously crazy.
You're willing to replay a game over and over and over again because the intro serves up best girls. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
At least you're happy.
Yeah. It took me quite a while, and just in an old school Alice Soft way, for some ungodly reason, some weird consequences of difficulty that you can choose at the beginning of the game has on the endings. I just don't know why they did it, because one of the, again, permutations of the endings and how the game progresses is if you pick easy mode, you no longer have access to the gotta catch 'em all ending of all the Pokemon. I don't know why. Your rival Pokemon Master will catch some of those monsters before you. But that is more variations of that ending. I'm like, oh my god, I need to catch them all. Okay.
Ouch. Yep. Some early video games are like that. It's like, well, you picked easy mode? Oh, well, you get punished by not seeing the ending. And it's like, what? I just played the whole game like this. What am I supposed to do now?
Yep, exactly. I don't know why they... Don't get me started. But this one, you know what? Now that I know how to approach it, I have my walkthroughs prepared. I cited that before, how the weird puzzles and pyramids made me lose my mind on my first playthrough. I was prepared. I know what I'm going into. I'm ready for the bullshit. I followed the optimized guide of bedroom rotation, how to nurture your Pokemons. I am ready. I'm locked in, and I completed it. And it was fine. I feel like still the starting portion is really cool, and the ending is absolutely hype. It will probably continue to live in my head rent-free for some time. It's that satisfying conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I go and think to myself, I think what it does to me is how compelling the team of antagonists is in this title. You almost every time when story progresses, you see their input of a given situation. Some hilarious, some more serious threat that approaches, and every single time it's super compelling. You want to see what's happening next. I need to know what is going on. What are they planning? How can I ruin that? That is absolutely hilarious. Sorry?
How can you ruin that?
Yeah, because your central antagonist says, okay, he captured another one of those monster girls that were staged to become my bride by this date. Let me postpone my wedding and choose another target. I'm like, okay, lock and loaded. I know what to hunt for.
Oh my gosh, okay.
It's absolutely hilarious.
It seems like a lot of the joy you're getting in this game is screwing over the villains.
To a certain degree. But the trio has such a compelling backstory, and not for a given moment, for now, as you are placed right now, more often than not, they exhibited the mustache-twirling villain stereotype. But if you delve deep into how they got into this situation, this is so much more intriguing. So yes, for a given moment, right now, they are foiled to be trounced and persevered over. But then you get into the deeper lore and what transpired and what happened to get to this point. I'm like, damn it, now I'm invested. Stop making me care for antagonists, okay?
Oh. So now that you've 100%ed Galzoo Island, have your opinions on it changed much than when you first finished it?
I think the one thing that made it, if I didn't make it abundantly clear, I want to make it so now. This is a dangerous title to ever approach without a proper walkthrough and guide. It did not age well, and the logic leaps you need to have in order to solve some of its problems, in addition to the game trying to lure you in and waste your time in an otherwise game with an upper time limit, it's just infuriating. This is not a game you can just do trial and error. Okay, I'll just figure it out. No. You will, if you approach this, you will reach a dead end and you will need to replay the entire game or go back to the save point you made recently that may grant you a better starting point.
And you've been making multiple save points, right?
Yeah, now I know. Yeah, now I know. Okay,
Oh,
the first
classic.
playthrough I had very limited ones, or at least not so broad as I did now. Carefully, every zone. So yeah, I approached this very strategically. But then again, since I had a plan, I didn't need to roll back any that much, honestly.
Hey, good on you.
It is honestly, if anything, I'm very impressed how many variations of a given moment or an event there are to account for any and all possibilities of your party looking in that particular moment. So that's actually I was impressed by. And they did account into many permutations of how your party looks, how your rival party looks of monster girls, and how the antagonist progresses his quest of finding a bride.
All right, that kind of foresight is always a treat to see. Because it also makes you want to experiment with different teams too, to see the dialogue.
Yes, exactly my point. Yep.
Nice.
Especially think about how if progression of zones grants you access to some monster girls, of which some of them have unique skills that allows you to progress further. What if you don't get exactly those for whatever reason? What is the fallback scenario for you to continue on progressing?
Exactly.
There's a lot of accounted for. I'm like, damn it, I am impressed how modular this VM is.
That's good praise for a game, what, 20 years old? 25?
Oh my God, I think it's over 20 years. Like, that's crazy.
Oh man, the video game industry is only getting older with every day. But that's pretty impressive, and there will surely be all sorts of titles in the future for you to gush over their starting intro girls. MR.
Oh my God, yeah. Or maybe some Kickstarters. I'll make some games. I fund some games that I like. Okay.
You'll directly fund them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways,
that may be sooner than expected. Okay.
God, there'll be one every month with you around.
Soon.
Thank you everyone for listening. And it's always a treat to get to explore some of the titles we've been reading and share them with you all. And let us know in the comments what you liked or what you're looking for more in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening in, and please share us in the comments what you've been reading in October. VNture out.
VNture out.